Hello and welcome to another Division 2 video. Yes, in this video I will talk a little bit about builds and the most important thing you need for every single build you create. And yeah, probably it's a little bit provocatively, but yeah, I don't mind. And for sure I will show you my preferred build so far, which I was using for the heroic bounty and every other stuff I did solo on this in the Division 2. So definitely I'm going to show you what I was looking at and everything else too. But let's get started and let's say it right away. So the most important thing you need for every build, if I say it right now, I guess then most of you will stop watching the video. But yeah, that's your decision. So the most important thing you need to build the build you want is definitely your brain. Yes, you heard it right, your brain. Probably you figured it out already. Because for me personally, I played quite a lot now in the Division 2. I tested out really a lot of stuff and things, but it's really hard to get the right gear pieces. There's such a huge variety of stats on the gear pieces and yeah, everything. So to get the right gear, to get the right gear pieces with the right stats and talents, it's really hard. And yeah, somehow this is really amazing because now you can create really your own decent build which suits your playstyle, and in the end this is the most important thing. So the build should suit your playstyle and nobody else's. And that's really an important thing you should have in mind. And that's why I would not recommend to just copy a single build, because yeah, until you get the right stats, and see it just as an example on the backpack. For attributes, then the major stats for sure from the brand set, it's always the same, but the talent are different, the attributes are always different, and yeah, it's really hard to get the gear pieces from someone else and have the same stats, and you can just recalibrate one single stat. So this makes it really hard to copy a build, which is in some way amazing, and on the other way it's really hard, yeah, for content creators as well for sure, because otherwise I would have presented you a really good build much earlier. And all the build videos I saw right now, yeah, they are all decent for sure. They're all decent in the same way, not in the same way, in their unique way. And yeah, that's kind of the hard thing right now. And you have so many talents on the weapons, you have so many talents and stats on the gear pieces, they synergize really well together. And that's why I think, yeah, you need your brain to create your own build. So you have to have a look which stats synergize to each other and which don't. And this is at the moment the most important thing. For me personally, to say it right at the beginning, I was focusing always on armor. So to have a high amount of armor on my build, as you see on the screen right now, I have 220,000 armor. Yeah, this is not the normalized version. And health, I didn't care too much about this. I know Wits did a build with a high health and low armor because he used special talents. And yeah, it synergizes really well in his way. But I can just say it doesn't matter too much when you play the normal stuff, so missions on normal or even hard, but as soon as you go up and do challenging stuff and do it by yourself solo, then it gets harder and harder, and then you're just too squishy in my opinion with this build, with the build he presented. But it's a really awesome build for sure. For PvP it's really decent, and I'm not the specialist for PvP, as you already know, I guess, so that's why you should use your brain all the time. But let's go right over the build I use right now. As you see, I guess let's start with the weapon. No, let's start with the specialization, because I think for every build one of the major things you should have in mind is the specialization you choose. I talked already about this earlier in my previous video. I still think demolitions is the strongest one. I told or talked about this quite a while ago, that this is my preferred one because of different things. So the medkit and the talent where you can absorb a grenade and the burn resistance and stuff like this. So it's just from the stats and everything, it's really an awesome specialization in my opinion. And yes, you always get a special weapon type which you can increase with the damage. So as you see here with the demolitionist, you get the increased damage for LMGs and you get it with SMGs. This is one of the most important things you should have in mind when you create your build, in my opinion. And yeah, another important or interesting thing is this one here. So you always get a special skill as well. But honestly, I will talk about skill builds and skills in a different video. It will just get too long of a video if I would include this here as well. So this is the first thing you should have in mind. And yeah, if you like to play with assault rifles, just go back one more time quickly. So if you like to play with assault rifles, then probably you should spec into this one here to increase the damage of assault rifles here. So this is one of the first things you should have in mind when you create your personal build. And then let's have a look. That's why I use for sure an LMG and an SMG, because I have increased damage with this specialization here. And then let's start with this one. So as you can see here, I have RPK. Honestly, I just changed today to the RPK. I like it quite a lot, although the damage is lower than from my preferred one, the MK46. But as you can see, they pretty much have the same talent, so it doesn't matter too much which one I'm gonna present you. This is more for skill build. As you see here, Rooted, it's a really good talent for skills. You get a huge buff. I don't know honestly if it works that good. I tried it out a couple times, but I couldn't see a sign or something, so I'm not quite sure if this really works as intended at the moment. But yeah, this one here I use pretty often as well. It's just insane with the huge max size, and the damage is pretty insane as well. For sure, RPK has a higher rate of fire, but nevertheless, it's still, both are pretty good to use, and in the end it matters with which one you feel more comfortable and you can land more of your shots. So as you see, the talent here on both of them are unhinged. It's a really awesome talent in my opinion. So you receive a 25% weapon damage increase and at the cost of 35% weapon handling. The extra here is mag capacity. It's really insane as well. And on the MK46 I have stability, so I can compensate already a little bit from the first one, the unhinged talent, with this one here. That's why I say it synergizes some of them really well. And protected reload for sure, especially on the MK46 or at the M249, it's really awesome to have, because you get 10% armor increase and you have a huge armor anyway, so this is really insane. And yeah, the reload time is really long on the LMGs in general, and that's why this is really a great talent to have on this one here. Then this is my main gun for sure. The secondary is an SMG, or depending on the mission, a custom M44 or a sniper rifle variant. But the most important talent on this one here, on the sniper and on the SMG, is the third one, overlap. As you can see, while holstered, your equipped weapon gains a handling bonus based on this weapon's type. I mean, some talents, to be honest, on the gear and on the weapon, they're quite confusing, because what does it mean? What does it mean? How much is it at the end? At the figure, I don't know it at the moment, but it works. I don't know this, but I just don't know at the moment for how much. And you can see it's exactly the same for my SMG here. The same talent here as well, overlap. So that's why I can compensate the stat here, where I have 35% less weapon handling with the stability. I would really prefer to have here rate of fire, because this baby with more rate of fire is really insane, just to let you know. And as I said, that the third talent here, it works pretty well together. Then some of you already want to know what kind of scopes or mods I use on the gun. So the one here is stability to compensate even more. Then I have reload speed, because yeah, it's quite long on this one. For sure you could run rate of fire as well. Works pretty well too. So sometimes I run it with this one here, but it doesn't matter too much. Then I have reload speed on the underbarrel, and I have damage to elites on the muzzle to increase the damage furthermore against the elites. So this is for the mod of the LMG. I don't go over the mods from the SMGs. If you want to know them, just let me know in the comment section to save a little bit time. Let's go to the mask. So I have a RH mask, and here you can see the main thing why I wear this mask. It's the attribute and the talent. So just from this single piece I get 55% damage to elites. And yes, this is the main reason why I wear this brand, and this mask. Hazard protection would be, yeah, I wouldn't choose it if I didn't have to, because of the attribute and the talent. But yeah, And to be honest, hazard protection is not that bad, because the further you go up on the difficulty, as I mentioned before, if you do heroic bounties or challenging stuff, or even tier 3, what is the name, from the checkpoints, you can increase the stats here. The one you see, it's now 0-1, and you can increase it up to 0-4. So if you want to have a real challenge to increase them to 4 and try to clear it by yourself, it's not that easy, I can say this one here. And yeah, if you do such stuff, then they use so much skills and all the things that gets a burn effect, shock effect and everything like this on you. And then hazard protection is not too bad, to be honest. So the more you go up in difficulty, hazard protection can be really an advantage. So that's why it's not the worst one. Then the second one, it's the chest, Alp Summit here, and cooldown reduction. Skill haste cooldown reduction is, for me personally, and especially if you play solo, one of the most important things still you can have on the gear, in my opinion. Because yeah, some of the skills, if not all of them, have such high amounts of skill duration, not skill duration, cooldowns. It's just insane. So to get the skills back earlier, it's just a huge advantage. And for sure the attributes are pretty nice here as well, because I get 8.5% weapon damage, it's quite a lot, and a lot of armor. And yeah, as I said at the beginning, armor is one of the main focuses on this build, and that's why you see hardened here as well. And I know many recommend the one here, Berserk, 10% weapon damage for every 10% armor depleted. Just have in mind something, which I want to show you right now, because I told you already, this is the not normalized version. This works in the open world, but if I toggle now, as you see, to the normalized stats, and go back here, then the talent changes. So now you see Berserk is not 10% more, it's still really insane for sure, but now it's 5%. So you get a max of 50% and not 100% if you look at the normalized stats. So if you go into the Dark Zone skirmish, skirmish, or then, what's the name? Domination. Then this one here works and not the other one. So just have this in mind here as well. I don't know how many people know this actually, but yeah, it's something you should know here. This is the one I use on the chest here, and as you see, yeah, it increases the armor quite a lot. And this is again the normalized version, so change back to the open world version here right now. Then let's continue with the holster. I get the Jackrabbit holster, and this is pretty good to have because it increases the total armor. So Jackrabbit, a really good brand in my opinion to increase the armor in general. Attribute, health and cooldown reduction works pretty well because yeah, the more health, the more survivability you have after the stamina, after the armor is depleted, and skill haste, I talked already about this before. And I got more hazard protection because I have 2 of them actually. But yeah, as I said before, hazard protection, the further you go up on the difficulty, the better it gets. Let's continue to the knee pads. Knee pads you can see here, it's the same brand, so I don't talk about this anymore. Then attribute is more armor, and the talent is damage to elites, which works of course still pretty good if you play PVE content. Although, surprisingly, in challenging missions, there are not that many elites. There are quite a lot red bars still and quite a lot of purples as well. So have not just, I mean, you have to find a mix. So just have everywhere damage to elites doesn't work that good in my opinion, because as I said, you meet quite a lot of purples and red bars as well. But I talk about this a little bit later. Let's go to the gloves here. The gloves, you can see I increase my health, and I have health and LMG damage as an attribute, and the talent is pretty good as well in my opinion, is Wicked, 10% weapon damage to status affected enemies, and especially in PvE they have so many weak points, you have so many explosives around, and yeah, if they burn or whatever, if you hit a weak point, they usually have a status effect. So then you increase not only the damage against elites, you increase the damage against everyone. That's why I do really like this, and for sure in PvP it's not the worst talent to have as well. And yeah, Murakami, I don't know, it's not really the one I would use, but it's just the one I got with the best stats. And for sure to have a little bit more health, it's not a wrong decision in my opinion. But I could go here for this one here as well. But yeah, the skill power is not really important, let's be honest. And the other stuff I get, yeah, it's just the best gloves I have at the moment. That's what I said before. It's really hard to get the right gear pieces, and that's why you have to use your brain to create your own build. The last single piece is the backpack Petrov, and yeah, if you have the Demolitionist, then you need to have at least one piece of Petrov defense group, because the first talent you get is 10% LMG damage, and for sure, if you run it with an LMG, then this is just a must-have in my opinion. And yeah, just have in mind, the specialization, I gain 15% already, I have 10% here, and I have an additional 8.5 on my chest, I have 5% on my gloves, and I get on 25% as a weapon talent, so in the end I guess 50 to 60% more LMG damage with this build, which is quite insane in my opinion. Attributes, you can see here, it's cooldown, crit chance, bonus armor and health, and again hardened the same as I have on my chest. And a really other awesome talent is efficient in my opinion. Using an armor kit has a 50% chance not to use the armor kit, and this works really great in my opinion. And yes, armor kit is my main source of healing. And just one thing to add here to this point, because if you go back to the Demolitionist, you have a talent here as well you can unlock. It's the one here, and here you can read. So every time you need use an armor kit, then weapon handling by 100% for 15 seconds, which is quite a long time in my opinion. And you get completion an additional 30% repair occurs. So while this 15 seconds happen, then you get the additional 30 seconds as a repair. So it's a healing over time. Let's say like this, 70% immediate and 30% over time over 15 seconds. And within this 15 seconds, you have 100% additional weapon handling. That's why I try to use really a lot of armor kits to increase the weapon handling as well. And this is my main source of healing with this build, and for sure then this talent is really insane efficient. And then on the top attributes, I would prefer to have weapon damage or something else than crit chance, to be honest, because I'm not focused that much on crit chance with an LMG. Yeah, you just don't get as much crit chance on an LMG as you have with other guns. That's why I would prefer another stat there, but I rerolled already another stat. That's why I was not able to reroll the crit chance here. Then the next one, the mods. Modding is quite hard in this game, in my opinion. You should have one thing in mind. So when you look at the weapon talent, you often see, or not the weapon that often, here you see it. So requires 5 or more stats into firearms. So the red one is firearms, the blue one is armor or resistance, health, this kind of stuff, and the yellow one is the skill power and such stuff like this. So some talents you have to unlock them with certain stats, so not have more than 5 in skills, not have more than 5 in firearms and stuff like this. So this is the most important thing, and this works for the talents on the gear and the talents on the can I find, here's another one, and the talents on the guns as well. So this is really the most important thing you should have in mind when creating a build and modding them, because when you add a mod like this one here, this adds 1 into firearms as well. So if you have sometimes 1 too much to unlock a talent, just remove the stat here, and then often it's better to have the unlocked talent than having another mod on your gear. So this is something you should have in mind when building up your gear. And yeah, for sure, always just pick the one you have that increases the stats the most. And I don't talk too much about the mods right now, because yeah, it's quite somehow difficult and somehow simple, because just quick on the thing here, then look which one is the best one you have right now. Sometimes purple is even better than high-end ones, and then equip this one here and just have a look, as I said, that it doesn't block your talents on the gear or on your gun. And as you can see, every talent is unlocked on this build. That's really one of the main focuses. So this is already it for the gear and the weapons. Let's go quickly to the the skills I'm using with this build. And yes, skills, as I said, I talk about skills and skill builds in a different video. It's just getting too long. So one skill I use mostly is the Seeker Mine, the Cluster Mines, and it's not basically because of the damage. It's mainly because the NPCs, the AI is pretty good. This is one reason, and the second reason is because they hide pretty often in cover when you shoot them, especially with an LMG, so you can suppress them pretty easy. It can be an advantage and a disadvantage at the same time. And the third one is because of the pulse. It's pretty useless, let's be honest. Pulse is just crap at the moment, let's say it like it is. And then the advantage with the Seeker Mines, the cluster, you see where the NPCs are, so if you use them you always see where they go to, and you see a pretty huge red circle around the NPCs, so you can spot them pretty easy. That's the main reason why I use this one here. And for sure you can detonate some cars as well from the mechanics and stuff and blow them up, so the damage is not that bad, to be honest. But yeah, as I said, this is the main reason why I use the Seeker Mines pretty often, especially if I play solo. The second one, it differs quite a lot, so I kind of like the Hive. For me personally, it's the best new added skill in the Division 2. For me personally, I really like it. It's so variety rich. As you can see, a Healing Hive, Revive Hive and stuff like this. This is pretty good as well. So if you go down when you play solo, it revives you automatically. Works pretty well too. And the booster I don't use too often solo, but mainly if I use it, then I use the Stinger. It blocks the way to you, so it's pretty like a guard to your position if somebody tries to rush you. Works pretty well. The only thing I really don't like about the Hive, and I honestly really hope they're gonna change it, is the insane long reload, the cooldown time. It's just insane. So that's why I sometimes use it, I sometimes not. And if not, then I use the Reinforcer Cam Launcher to get an extra heal. And yeah, the huge advantage of this tool here, or this skill, is the cooldown, 14 seconds. It's just insane. So I really don't know what they think when they create these builds or the skills. 170-second cooldown and 14 seconds. And this is an advantage as well from the Seekers. They have a pretty short cooldown as well. So this is it. It got already enough long, I guess, so that's why you see why I do discuss the skills in a different video. And just to close it up at the end, to show you the builds I have right now, it's the one here, the all-round, I use for pretty much everything in the game. Works pretty well, the one I showed you before. Then I have a damage to elite build as well. I can just show you quickly one stat. It's kinda impressive, I guess. And you see I still miss one piece, so I could get, I guess at least, I could get damage to elites on my holster as well. But if you have a look here, then I have in total on this build 140% damage to elites. If this is useful or not, you can ask me in the questions or in the comments down below. I don't think it's that useful, at least at the moment, but when we get raids or something as a damage dealer in a team, probably could be pretty good. And as you saw before, I could still get 15%, I guess, and then I would have 155% damage to elites. So this is one I tried out so far. Then I have a PvP version, yeah, and I like the LMGs there as well. And you see I don't use the Berserk chest there as well, because I think it got nerfed anyway pretty soon, or at least I hope so, because it's just, yeah, it's OP. And yeah, I used LMG there as well, of course with different stats and gear pieces. If you're interested in this one, just let me know. Otherwise I will close quickly. And the last one for sure, I'm testing around with a skill build, and you see skill power is pretty high. I could reach almost 8k, but to say right now, skill builds at the moment, useless. Just one word for this one. And the test build for different stuff. So these are the builds I use or I'm testing around right now. And for sure, if I find out something interesting for you, especially for the PvE players, especially for the solo players, then for sure I will let you know in the next video. Thanks a lot for your endurance, for the watching of this video. I know it was a little bit longer as expected, but thank you so much. Wish you a great day. Take care. See you in Washington DC, and see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.